How exactly is Star Wars Episode 1 racist? You'll find out right after this. Hey everybody, I am Taylor from Beard vs. Geek, where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. Today we are back in the Star Wars universe with the Jedi and the Sith, but we are talking about that most hated Star Wars movie of all time, outside of the holiday special, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, you've probably seen your friends or the internet complain on and on about Jar Jar, and about how Jar Jar Binks is the worst thing that ever happened to the Star Wars universe. But you might not know exactly why Jar Jar Binks is claimed as being racist, or really why people say that that whole movie is racist and is filled with racist stereotypes. Well, I'm going to give you the truth about it, and I'm going to go step by step through 3 characters and show you why they are racist and therefore not okay. Now, first up is Watto. Watto is a character who is a Tidarian. Tidarians fly instead of walk, and they are not prone to Jedi mind tricks. Watto was the person who actually owned Anakin Skywalker and his mother, and is all about the money.
Credits will do fine.
No, they won't! What, you think you're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that? I'm a Tidarian. Mind tricks don't work on me. Only money. No money, no parts, no deal.
And with a little bit of his speech patterns, but mainly his obsession with money and the way he looks, a lot of people have compared Watto to negative depictions of Jewish people. For example, if you look at this image right here, the caption, though, is very interesting. It is in German, so if you speak German and if you read German, you know a little bit better than I do. I just have Google Translate on what it says, and according to Google Translate, it says, "The God of the Jew is the money." Now, that is in German, which gives you a little hint as to who made that image. That's right, it's the frackin' Nazis. The people who killed millions of Jewish people and millions of other undesirables. Now, if you notice in this image and in other negative images of Jewish people are always represented by having a large nose. And what does Watto, a money-grubbing person, have? A large nose. Too large, actually. Really, really large. It's more like a small trunk than it is an actual nose. So you have a character in Star Wars who is obsessed with money, who has a large nose, and who is not exactly honest and reputable, which is how Jewish people have been historically portrayed. Not okay, Star Wars. Not okay. Number 2, Newt Gunray. Now, Newt Gunray and really all of the members of the Trade Federation are on trial here. And a lot of people have pointed to Newt Gunray and the rest of the Trade Federation as a negative stereotype of Asians. Primarily, this is due to the voice. Here's a little clip of it.
With all due respect, the ambassadors for the Supreme Chancellor wish to board immediately.
Yes, of course. As you know, our blockade is perfectly legal. And we'd be happy to receive the ambassadors.
Oh yes, you can go get the Jedi a number 2 with sesame seed chicken, no substitutions. Really, it's not that hard to put together. For example, here's a little bit of American cinema of white people depicting Asians.
We are now privileged to witnessing demonstration of Japan's finest air raid siren.
Even today, Asians in American films starring in American films, are about 1%. So this is an issue that was not only relevant back in the 40s while we were at war with Japan, or in the 70s, or in the 90s when this film came out, but today as well. Also, the Trade Federation leaders, Newt Gunray, are also obsessed with money, but they are also inequipped to deal with war. They have droids who have a giant flaw. All of their crap gets blown up easily as if it was not prepared right. Which is interesting. I wonder if there was a stereotype about the Japanese and how the Japanese weren't ready to make war either.
Oh, believe it or don't, this submarine launched 3 weeks ahead of schedule.
That's right. There was one. And by the way, who portrayed the voice of these characters, of many of the Trade Federation characters? Was it someone who was Japanese or even of Japanese descent? Was it someone who was Chinese, maybe a Chinese actor did the voice roles for Newt Gunray? And that's why he speaks like it's his natural voice? No. It's a white guy who's English. Same guy who played this guy. Not okay, Star Wars. Not okay. Now, finally, this leads us to number 1, Jar Jar Binks. You were waiting for this, right? You knew it was coming. Well, Jar Jar Binks, a lot of people hate Jar Jar Binks, and a lot of them say that Jar Jar is the biggest racial stereotype in Star Wars. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of it comes down to the voice. The voice, well, here's a little clip of it.
Oh, muy, I love you.
You almost got us killed. Are you brainless?
I speak.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
No, Mr. Stay. Mr. called Jar Jar Binks.
It is broken English, it is high-pitched, and it sounds just not intelligent at all. And that is exactly how blackface minstrels and comedians depicted African Americans 100 years ago. In American comedy, there was a thing called the blackface comedy, where white people would take shoe polish and would paint their faces black and would portray themselves as idiotic African American. And they would tell jokes and they would play the banjo and they would just outright be buffoons. Now, here's an actual clip of a TV show that was popular that portrayed this style of entertainment.
Man, I'm hungry. I want something to eat.
That's all you talk about is something to eat.
Well, that's all I do is talk about it. I don't ever get nothing.
And you might say, that's all well and good. Okay, so that explains Jar Jar's voice, but what else? Well, Jar Jar was enslaved to a white guy. At the very beginning of the film, Qui-Gon Jinn saves Jar Jar Binks' life. And what does Jar Jar Binks do? He not only thanks him, but according to his customs...
No, Mr. Stay. Mr. called Jar Jar Binks. Mr. your humble servant.
That won't be necessary.
Oh, but it is. 'Tis demanded by the gods, it is.
That's right. Jar Jar Binks, who sounds a lot like a stereotypical black guy, is now the slave or servant of Qui-Gon Jinn until Jar Jar Binks saves Qui-Gon Jinn's life or Qui-Gon Jinn sets him free. Now, does Qui-Gon Jinn set him free? No, absolutely not. Never in the freaking film. You don't see it until Qui-Gon Jinn dies, therefore Jar Jar Binks is free. Instead, Qui-Gon Jinn uses Jar Jar Binks as a slave in order to save Jar Jar's life and to use him as a guide and a helper in contacting the Naboo.
I saved his life. He owes me what you call a life debt. Your gods demand that his life belongs to me now.
It is not okay. If you're curious about why this book is so prominent in this video, you go ahead and check out the little card up here. There's a great story behind it. It's kind of funny. I very recommend it. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe. Great videos are coming out every week where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. You can check out these two videos right here, and you can check out the channel page for that as well. Because after all, if the women don't find you manly, they should at least find you geeky. And until next time, don't go shaving on me.